October 22, 1979. On this date, the Shah was allowed to enter the United States to receive medical treatment for cancer. This marked a very important conflict between the Iranian people and the United States. The conflict gave the Iranian people a sensible reason to be upset with the American people. The Iranian people believed that it was not the United States' job nor right to intervene on this conflict. They were mad when the Shah was granted U.S. safety because they wanted him punished for his crimes against their country.
According to a newspaper article, the seeking by Iran through legal channels of the Shah's extradition from Panama and eventual rejection of this request by Panama for legal reasons of its own. According to its constitution, an individual cannot be extradited if he may face death in his own country. This is the argument that the Iranian people made to why the U.S. should not allow the Shah to enter their country.
November 4th, 1979. On this date, the embassy was stormed by Iranian students who were originally there to protest against the Shah being extradited to the U.S. This marked the beginning of the actual conflict between the Iranian people and the United States over the hostage crisis situation.
One article describes the riots. Scattered rioting continued in the capital and elsewhere. According to reports from the holy city of Mashhad in the northeast, many civilians were killed in these riots.
November 17, 1979. The Iranian people released minority groups because they believed that the minority groups had been oppressed for too long. This show of hospitality towards some of the hostages demonstrates that the takeover was not malicious with regard to the actual people involved. The people that were released were African Americans and females. They were released on the 19th and 20th of that month.
An article writes about the research behind this release as being involved in a conflict over oil. Carter ordered an immediate suspension of oil imports from Iran today, declaring that the United States would not yield to unacceptable demands.
April 11, 1980. On this date, one of the first attempts to rescue the hostages was put into play. This plan was referred to as Desert One. This mission ultimately failed due to the malfunctioning of 3 helicopters, which crashed into a C-130 transport plane, leading to the death of 8 servicemen and the injury of 3 more. This led to further negotiations between the Iranian and U.S. people because the U.S. realized that force would not help them achieve their goals in this situation.
One article refers to the conflict as doomed from the start. This was due to the lack of communication, lack of maps, and lack of sufficient planning by the U.S.
January 21, 1981. On this date, the hostages were welcomed home by ex-President Jimmy Carter. The hostage release was delayed until January 21st, which will be later known as the October Surprise. This delay was due to the upcoming presidential election between Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan.
One article discusses the terms and conditions under which the hostages will be released. The Speaker of Iran's parliament said today that the legislature would decide in the next 2 or 3 days on conditions for the release of the 52 American hostages, and he said that he thought it a very remote possibility that any of them would be tried as spies.